So House Democrats have reinserted a paid medical and parental leave policy into their spending bill, after their counterparts in the Senate stripped it from their framework last week. There is one big difference though, between House version and what the Senate was considering before the policy was taken out altogether. The House's current language stipulates that in order to be paid, workers must have at least $2,000 in earnings prior to starting their benefits, and that could exclude low-wage workers with unstable work history and those just entering the workforce from the benefits. But overall, some economists say that the $2,000 requirement is a fairly low threshold, and this shouldn't exclude many workers. Under the House's proposals, eligible workers who do not receive paid leave at work would qualify for 4 weeks of parental, sick, or caregiving leave. The Senate did not ultimately include paid leave in the framework of the Build Back Better plan introduced last week, after objections from Manchin. With no Republican support, they need all 50 Democratic senators on board to pass this legislation. Manchin reportedly reiterated his position to including paid leave in the legislation. Including paid leave in the House version of the legislation means the Senate will need to approve or change it. If modified, it will need to be approved again by the House. The US is just one of a few countries in the world that does not offer paid leave to its citizens. And the Urban Bookings Tax Policy Center's report finds that when taking individual income tax and payroll tax changes into account, the bottom 8% of households would save $700 to $830 on their tax bills next year on average. When all major tax provisions are taken into account, it estimates around 20-30% of middle-income households would pay $100 or less on average in taxes in 2022. And things get complicated after 2022. For example, the expansion of the child tax credit is included for next year. According to the report, that means the overall tax cuts for low-income households would shrink in 2023. And the Congressional Budget Office set its score, and now pressure is mounting on the chief agency that's tasked with scoring the budgetary impact of legislation. If the score is above $1.75 trillion, it could give Senator Manchin and other centrists a reason to oppose the measure. Thank you for your support, everybody, and if you have any more questions about this, leave them in the comments below.
Hello, everyone. Well, you all saw the latest NBC poll Sunday. 71% of Americans believe the country's headed in the wrong direction. So what are we doing in the Senate this week? We're having a cloture vote on what is called the John Lewis Voting Rights Act tomorrow, the assumption being that something has happened to the Voting Rights Act. Of course, nothing could be further from the truth. The Supreme Court did not strike down the Voting Rights Act. It remains against the law to discriminate against people on the basis of race in any state in the country with your election procedures. In fact, this is a Trojan horse to carry a lot of other provisions that the Democrats have wanted to enact through the earlier voting rights bill that we've already considered and rejected. Clearly, they want to change the subject. They want to change the subject away from how the American people feel about this administration, about the reckless tax and spending bill, onto a non-existent problem with this marching out of the John Lewis Voting Rights Act again. I repeat, the Supreme Court did not strike down the Voting Rights Act. It's still on the books. There's no evidence right now anywhere in the country that states are engaged in suppressing the vote based upon race.
The Biden administration is overseeing the worst border crisis in America's history. Before it's all said and done this year, there will be over 2 million people, or about 2 million people, who will come into this country illegally. And now, to make matters worse, the administration is considering paying people who are here illegally and are suing this country $450,000 per person to come into the United States. And if you add that up, families, multiple people in the families, that could get up over $1 million real fast for people who are here in this country illegally. That, if you think about it, is 6.5 times the median average income in this country. It is 4.5 times what is paid to the families of people who have lost soldiers in combat. It is more than most of the families in 9/11 received from the government. This, ladies and gentlemen, is an insult to the hardworking taxpayers in this country. The Biden administration's ideas, there isn't a day that goes by around here where there isn't a horrible idea that comes out. And we've been dealing with that on a daily basis now for the past several weeks. But this is an idea that just is got to be done away with. The American people are not going to tolerate the people who work hard in this country to try and take care of their families having their government pay $450,000 per person to people who come here illegally. This needs to be stopped in its tracks, and hopefully the administration will come to a senses and see that it is.
The Biden administration is clearly out of step with the American people. Everyone here has seen the national polling numbers that show only 22% of Americans believe that the country is headed in the right direction. The American people know what their concerns are, and they're very different from the misguided obsession of the Biden administration. The American people are really worried about inflation and how it's taking a bite out of their paycheck every week, so their dollars don't go as far. Instead, the Biden administration wants to raise trillions of dollars in taxes and trillions of dollars in spending. The American people are concerned about the fact that when they go to
Folks, this Friday I will be announcing one winner of a free $300 Amazon gift card. And if you'd like to enter the win, all you have to do is subscribe to my channel and share this video with your friends and family. Now, Senator Joe Manchin says that he has chief concerns that will need to be addressed in order to secure his vote for the $1.75 trillion economic package. Things like climate change and taxes must be addressed, according to Manchin. That's in a hopeful sign for Democrats, but Manchin did not rule out the ambitious time frame that Chuck Schumer laid out earlier. He put the bill on the chamber floor during the week of November 15th. This means we could see lawmakers reach a deal before the end of the month. Manchin has raised far more concerns than any other senator, and he held a news conference Monday to publicly cast doubt on the emerging deal, while warning that he could ultimately vote against it, as he called it gimmicks. Folks, speaking to reporters, Gardner said that he's been pushing for full reinstatement of the deduction as part of the deal for taxes, and though he would not say how long he wants that reinstatement to be in effect. House Ways and Means Committee Chairman Richard Neal said that the committee is still discussing the deduction. According to a committee aide, a proposal on the table would repeal the $10,000 cap for the 2021 and 2025 tax years. It would then be reinstated for 5 years after that. There is some good news for those of you that live in California. If you are eligible for a California stimulus payment and have not received it yet, it's highly unlikely that your payment is coming through the mail.